Alright, rolling on through. Welcome to another episode of Dead by Daylight Creation Reviews. Let's see what we have going on. Skipped all of those. Last thing we did was Critical Fishes, Chapter Concept, The Approaching Dread. uh, Skipping the Five Nights at Freddy's things. Another werewolf. You say original werewolf killer. Funny. Can't tell you how many werewolf and vampires and Five Nights at Freddy's things that I've already done thus far. Even within two, this must be old, because I remember this. Yes, it is old from August 2021. We skipped this. The Thing. Paragraph Survivor Idea. The Thing like the hand from the Addams Family? Okay. Uh, RJ McReady. MacReady? That's the dude from, Metal Slug, isn't it? Pretty sure that's the guy from Metal Slug. RJ MacReady. Antarctic Research, Inorganic Shapeshifter, Survivors to the Test. One by one by driving them paranoid and through his... That's the dude from Metal Slug. His personal perks, absorbent against all odds and fight back, allow him to overcome the lurking threats and increase his chances of living for another day. First perk, Observant. Whenever a survivor gets injured, the killer's aura is revealed to you for 5 seconds. Why not just run Empathy? If you run Empathy, anytime a survivor is injured within, like, it's something stupid like 124 meters, it's essentially the entire map, damn near. But basically, anytime a survivor gets injured, you will see that injured survivor's aura. So instead of getting 5 seconds of the killer's aura after, if they're in a chase with another survivor, which is meaningless to you because you're going to be on a gin, why not run Empathy so you can see where that survivor is, aka where the killer is as well, because the killer's going to be chasing the survivor, what pallets they drop, what windows they vault through, what paths they take, and whether or not they're heading towards you or not. Then if they do escape the chase, you can get to them, heal them, or do whatever. This also works well if an injured survivor is going to an exit gate, or injured survivors are doing generators. You now know where those generators are. Empathy is one of the strongest perks out there when it comes for, or reading information. Clairvoyance is alright, but I mean, you have to spend 14 seconds to get the activation, breaking a totem. Afterwards, it has its quirks and everything like that, like killer phase and the bump and all the other glitches that probably were never fixed. But still, this perk isn't very good when, again, you can run Empathy and get locational data for the entire time that killer's or survivor's being chased, as opposed to getting a 5-second blip and then that's the end of it. That no, this ain't very well or very good. I mean, it can be incorporated into the game, but anybody with a brain ain't gonna use it. We already have what, like 91 different survivor perks or something crazy like that. We don't need an additional, kind of semi-useless one. Let's talk about uses for this. The only uses you really have for this is If a survivor gets hooked in basement or something, or, well, if a survivor gets hooked in general, and another survivor is going for an unhook, granted that person's not running Kindred, because Kindred's the other perk that counters this. If that person going for an unhook gets injured, you can see where that killer is and whether or not they're camping hook or something like that. So this is the way to, if nobody's running Kindred, which I mean they generally don't unless they're basically new to the game. This is the way to get that sort of information, whether or not somebody's going for a rescue or not, essentially. And if they're able to get a self or easy rescue, or whether they need, the rest of the crew's help to get that person off the hook. So it has its uses. However, it's kind of eh. What is this thing missing? Just off the top of my head, it's missing a cooldown. You definitely want to add a cooldown and some sort of, so you're not hitting, or people aren't getting hit and you're not constantly getting ore reads over and over. Granted, they're finite, but you still need some sort of cooldown between activations. Even if it's something simple like quick and quiet's 20 seconds, there should still be a cooldown there. So, I mean, the perk itself can have its uses, but there's other perks that completely trump that shit. So, I mean, if somebody else gets hit and you know they're not in a chase or anything like that, it's kind of a situation. It's kind of like, when the obsession gets chased. If the obsession's being chased and you see the things on the side moving, it doesn't matter what kind of really perks you read or reading or anything like that, because the game's telling you this. So by default, any type of aura read perk becomes a fourth useless. Because the obsession being chased and all of that, doesn't do anything for you. And you can easily run like a shitty ass green key in the ring that allows you to see the aura of the obsession the entirety of the trial if you have nothing else you really want to run that particular match. So, I mean, it's like this perk's not very good. Plus, there's other perks you can use as well. Like the reverse of Bitter Murmur for the survivors, whatever the hell that's called. And there's the key again, which if they're in whatever tear radius range or whatever the hell range it is, you can see their ores there. There's a whole bunch of different perks that can give you this same exact reading and doesn't just end. So nobody gets healed. This perk becomes useless. So you would really love for this particular perk, if you want to keep it and do still think it's worthwhile, add some sort of passive to it to where if it does run into a plague or something like that, you're not just sitting there like, well, this particular perk is useless after everybody goes into the broken status effect. Like every other perk. Empathy strong against the plague because you can see where all of your teammates are at once. And again, when it comes to looking at the killer's aura, there's not a lot of situations where you really need that. The only time you would really like to see a killer's aura is like the reverse of Ghostface's I'm all ears. Like if you vault a window or something like that, then you would want to see killer's aura, whether they're, going to go around, whether they're going to go for a fake, whether they're going to keep pursuing you, what they're doing. Seeing their aura at times like that is great and is pivotal. However, seeing their aura randomly when a survivor gets injured isn't going to help you. You're going to get a 5-second blip and say, oh, they're on that side of the map over there. Cool. How does that help you? You can even take this particular perk and times it by 4. Still not going to help you. As a survive with friends, still don't help you. Even if one person grabs this particular perk, it still don't help you. Because whoever's being chased can just call that information out. Then again, why would I use this perk over any other perk in the game? Any of it. Fight back. After repairing 70% of a generator, fight back activates. Whenever you get injured, you drop a flare that blinds and deafens the killer for 3 seconds and hides your scratch marks for 5 seconds. Fight back can only be triggered once per match. So, I don't know how the hell you're going to incorporate this. You get injured, you drop a flare, or in this case, it's probably going to be a firework or something like that, because, I mean, it's not Friday the 13th. But you drop something that blinds and deafens the killer for 3 seconds. If the killer isn't looking directly down or forward or anything like that, the killer won't be blinded. So the only thing they're going to do with your particular survivor is they're going to slap the shit out of you, look up for it to go kaboom, and then they're going to continue chasing you. And if you do catch somebody off guard, they're only going to fall for it once. And after that, they're going to look for that. That's if, you know, like I said, it's a survive with friends if there's 4 people, because it only activates once per match. So once somebody in your SWF uses this particular perk, the rest or the killer's gonna be on guard for it. And then you're blinding the killer, you're deafening the killer, and you're hiding your scratch marks, and the only activation is repairing 70% of a generator. That's a terrible activation for all of that, by the way. You're going to naturally get 70% of a generator by the start of the game, unless you are unlucky and you are chased first by the killer. If you get first chase, which means as soon as the game starts, you put yourself in a position where the killer can find you, you're not going to get that activation. But I mean, you have a 75%. Actually, you have higher than 75. Because if you don't go straight for a gen at the beginning of a match, and you just hide to make sure the killer's not around you, you got plenty. So, you have a very high chance of getting the generators, because again, you're going to get 2 or 3 generators pop by, well, you should, right around the time the first person goes down and gets hooked, unless they're extremely bad. You can definitely get 70% of a generator done by that time. That's what, 56 seconds? So right around a minute's worth. You should definitely be able to get about a minute's worth out of that. So that is a extremely easy activation. Why even add an activation like at all at that point? Because it's useless. It's not something to fight for or anything like that. You're not trying to make it serve as an anti-tunneling perk or anything like that, like decisive. Because, I mean, you can make it that simple. It's called fight back. You have to be in a fight and you have to be pressured to fight back. So, after getting unhooked, this particular ability activates. You can pair it with Decisive Strike. So, when you get picked up and you use your Decisive, wow. Well, when you get hit the first time, you drop the flashbang, or flare in this case. You get a little bit of distance. They catch up to you. They knock you down. You get a decisive on top of that. And then you get an extra 5 seconds of maneuverability and all of that. Now, all in all, you're only getting about 8 seconds worth of separation there. But I mean, it could be the make or break factor when it comes to the end of things. The only thing that I wouldn't do is deafen the killer. Killer should not be deafened. A blind is a blind. If they listen to the direction you're going in and they follow you due to sheer, I guess, instinct, and they manage to keep up with you, regardless, I mean, that kind of is what it is. You shouldn't be able to have just free reign to be able to blind them, hide your scratch marks, and make it to where they can't hear where you're going or anything like that. It's way too much. Way, way, way too much. 3 seconds, by the way, is about the equivalence of a pallet break. Just a normal ass pallet break takes about 3 seconds to begin animation, break, and then end animation to where you have control again. So, if that's a time reference that you need. So it's basically the equivalent of a killer breaking a pallet and you flashlight blinding them and then running. That same equivalence. If you're not going to go for a double blind, it's really not the point of trying to blind them. Or if you're not going to try to go for some sort of specific play, it's not worth the blind. You might as well just continue to run and get that space. I mean, if you're trying to be the looper or the killer, it's different. Flashing them and keeping their attention and pissing them off. But if you're just trying to get away, drop that shit, pallet stun them, and run. Blinding them ain't gonna do shit but allow them to follow you through the sound. um, what I find interesting is it scales off of scratch marks being hid 3, 4, and 5 seconds instead of the blind, deafen, and everything else, or the generator repair going down. I figured it'd be generator repair at 70, 60, and then 50. And then it'd just be 3 seconds of all these effects. You repair half a generator, you get these effects. That's how I figured it would be scaled, not hiding scratch marks. They have dances and other things like that, and deception, and a whole bunch of other things that hide scratch marks. So I do recommend you getting rid of the scratch marks perk, or part of that. The deafen and blind and deafen, I mean, it is what it is. Flashlights blind, there's not really a lot of things that deafen a killer. So, I mean, I could see it's somebody letting it fly. But hiding the scratch marks and all of that on top of all of that, that's too much. Is way too much, especially for only repairing a generator, which you should be doing naturally. But it only being able to be triggered once, per match makes it not very good. You know, it's really not good, and it's off injury too. It's just It makes your heart ache that this perk could be balanced and changed up a little bit in something good, but it does nothing for you as the first time you get injured. Because one, as soon as you hit the killer, or the sick killer hits you, you get that speed boost. So unless you stop and don't use that speed boost, which is weird, and you hide or do some other crazy shit, the killer's gonna know what direction you ran in because they're gonna see where you're going before they get blinded. And if they don't look away, that's if they don't look away and all of that. So you're not using the whole time that you have of that speed boost. Because I could easily see somebody running this perk, overcome, and some other bullshit. So once you get hit and all of that, they get blinded, with the old ninja smoke technique, and then the other person gets this huge amount of carried speed away from that killer. Gone. For the entirety of that overcome, by the way. Kinda ridiculous. The perk stacks that you can get with this. You can get this, that perk, decisive, and then overcome. Against all odds, after cleansing a totem of any kind, against all odds gets activated. Ignore it. When you are the last survivor remaining, receive a 10% speed boost to unlocking exit gates. If the hatch is closed by the killer, this allows you to open the hatch by yourself without a key. Brother, keys have already been nerfed into the goddamn dirt. You're just gonna make it to where keys are useless now. If they implement this particular perk, they might as well delete all keys from the game. Whoosh, gone. It's bad enough that you can look at the killer's presence, but it considerably increases the amount of fucking time the key gets used up. They need to get rid of the considerable part and just make that shit not stack with other perks like, Belt the Last and Streetwise and all of that. 8 seconds of aura reading ain't gonna really kill anybody if it comes to, like a key. Because after they use that shit up, they can't exit the hatch. They can't exit via hatch. Which you can put that on there, With this add-on, key no longer opens hatch, so it can only be used on green keys, and you can limit it in that direction. Or if they want to sacrifice a better key, they can do it like that. Change the add-on's name to like Sawtooth. Like I was gonna say Sawtooth Comb, but that's not a comb. A Sawtooth File or something crazy like that. You can name it a different type of add-on for something. And there you go. Essentially, deforming the key or breaking the key lets out energy that allows you to channel the killer's aura. But I mean, today they go back in and do add-ons or redo add-ons that are actually, been implemented in the game for a while. Is going to be a happy day for a lot of people because there are old add-ons that need to be either updated, flushed, or something like that when it comes to the items in Dead by Daylight. So grants you the ability to open the hatch by yourself without a key. You can get rid of that because keys are everywhere in that damn game. Just run one or open a chest and find one. 10% speed boost to unlocking exit gates. All you gotta really do is run any of the multitude of perks that increases your speed. You got Spine Chill, which gives you what, like 6-8%. You got Resilience or whatever the hell that perk's called, that when you're injured you do things faster. You have all kinds of things that you could particularly run. Let's see. I'm not reading all of that. Goddamn throat's getting sore. New killer, the Count. Nosferatu-inspired killer. They are the invisible vampires, if I remember correctly. Heavy cannibalism and invisible, if I remember that brand of vampire. I'll take a peep at it. If it looks worthwhile, I'll go over it. If it's not, this is literally from what's the name of the game? The Vampire Masquerade. Bloodlines. The Vampire Masquerade. Very short. No need to go into that. Pyman's back with another one. I mean, at least he stays consistent with everything that he does. That's all I have to say. At least he's staying consistent with the book. I'm gonna look at how many posts you have, and if you ain't got a decent amount of posts, I'm skipping you. One post. Skipped. See ya. The Grand Masquerade. This one I've already done. All of these I've already done, by the way. But for the most part. Done that. I haven't done this one. Survivor? Yeah. Martin Brody. Role concerned sheriff. Bum, 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 bum. His personal perks: sinking feeling initiation, boon exposure therapy. Allow Brody to overcome fear and help the vulnerable when predators are lurking. Why does that sound like a police officer trying to protect a little kid on a playground? Sinking feeling. You learn how to think quickly while under duress. When injured and within the killer's terror radius, the auras of items within 30 meters of you are revealed. Why? If you are injured and in the killer's terror radius, you probably are being chased. If you ain't being chased, you're probably hiding your ass off and hoping that he don't get you. What's the point in seeing the auras of items within 30 meters? That would mean a survivor had to either have their weapon drop out of their hand due to Franklin's demise, open a chest and trade whatever item they have in their hand, which was probably empty, for another item that's there. Or something, around about that. I mean, I can understand, if you're running this and like built the last or something like that. And as people use up, their higher quality items, you can just recharge that shit. But I mean, like, if you play SWF, you can easily just tell your buddy to drop off the item that he has that's great somewhere, and you can just charge it for him or take it for yourself. And if it is an SWF, look where people are got sacrificed at, or check chests to pick up the majority of items that are in play. Thinking Feeling does nothing on its own, and it's going to need supporting perks to help it. Initiation. You used to run away, but you learned the value of courage. When another survivor is being picked up or carried within 16 meters of you, you gain 2% haste for 8 seconds. Or you can run Breakout, which gives you the haste as long as you're near the killer and allows the person to struggle faster. You know what I'm saying? Why would you run this over Breakout? You wouldn't? Hmm, makes sense. And you wouldn't stack this with Breakout because it's only a 2% haste. 2% is what? I don't even want to do the math. 10% would be 0.4. So a fifth of 0.4 is like what, like 0.8 or something? So you would be getting a 0.8. You would move at 4.8, no, 4.08 meters per second for 8 seconds. 4.08. That is what that scales down to, or somewhere around there. Very slow. Very, very, very slow. There is no increase in speed or anything like that. That makes it worthwhile. And if we bump this to, let's say, 10%, which makes you run the same amount of speed, well, actually, that's not true. Because regardless of killer, they all walk at 4.6 meters per second squared when carrying a survivor. So even with a 10% haste status effect, you would still be 0.2 meters per second slower than that particular killer. So unless you are ahead of them or actively going to a hook and using, you know, saboteur or something like that to save your teammate, initiation just ain't good. Boon, exposure therapy. Press and hold the active. Okay, it's a boon. Gotcha. Whenever the killer enters the boon radius, their aura will be revealed to all other survivors for 4 seconds. Any survivors within the boon radius when the killer aura is revealed this way benefits from a 15% faster volt speed. Absolutely, positively, fuck all no. Because the only thing that you're gonna do as a survivor is put that shit somewhere where it covers most of the map. Whether it's like Midwich or something, putting it towards the middle and covering damn near the entire map with this speed boost, or putting it in one of the side totems that are towards the courtyard where you can cover an entire area of the place. Gideon, same thing. Old Wind Farm, you can just hide that shit out in the cornfield. And now the killer's gonna have to worry about an increased survivor, well, I guess cornfield's not a good example there. You can put it in all of the good loops like Kill Shack and things like that. And you could just run that particular killer ragged. Absolutely, positively ragged. Especially with Spine Chill adding like a, what, another 6 to 8% on top of that. You're over 20% vaulting speed. That's crazy. Absolutely, positively crazy. Super fast vaulting speed if you run that with Shadow Step and Circle of Healing. The killer can no longer see your stretch marks. Get vaulted the fuck out. And if you run Circle of Healing or Exponential or some shit, with that, they can pick themselves up. Like, no. No. That's too much. Now, whenever a killer enters the boon radius, their auras are shown to survivors that are within the boon radius. Well, now, not even the aura. They get notified. They get a notification when the killer enters within the boon's radius. So killer walks in to the boon radius and the survivors in that boon radius, they get a ding. Sort of like when you're using dark sense or something, that sound where you look at a totem or killer's equipment and all of that, you get a ding, and then the perk goes on cooldown for X amount of seconds, and then it can get another ding to let you know, hey, the killer's within 24 meters. That would be at least decent against stealth killers or extremely fast killers. You can get a notification that, hey, they are there. Which, as a stealth killer, would make you have to basically go over and snuff the boon totem, or they're always going to know you're approaching. Aura's too much. For a stealth killer, you hear the ding, people are going to be on guard, but they won't necessarily know which direction you're coming from as well. So you still have that surprise. They're just kind of alerted, like when you're playing a stealth game and the guards are on full alert. You can still sneak through. You just have to be cautious. So I could see it doing something like, like Dark Sense, when the killer's within X amount of meters, ding! So everybody knows, hey, killer's here. Useless in most situations, yes, but, it's sort of a counter to any killer that can get the undetectable status effect or can lose their tear radius. So it has its uses. Vault speed? Absolutely not. Mm-mm. 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 And they're just talking about all of that. That's fun. New killer, The Bride, Left 4 Dead killer on concept. I mean, I guess it'd be DLC for Bill. Is it in The Bride? Well, I guess it is a bride, but I thought this is what the witches look like. Yeah, the witch. I don't know about The Bride. This is literally the witch. Also, cite your sources. Mr. 8 Post. You don't want that one to be your last one. The witch or the zombie? Okay then. Well, it can't be the zombie because Nemesis and it's a killer. So I wouldn't name it the zombie. The witch. I mean, unless you consider Michaela being called the witch, I mean, it'd be completely fine making her a witch. You could probably give her a better name, like the Tormented or something like that. I don't know. I'd prefer SCP, whatever, Larry, Long Arm Boy, 692, whatever his name is. The one you look at, he attacks you. I'd prefer that SCP over the witch from Left 4 Dead, though. Movement speed, tear radius, all the same. I mean, anybody that's played Left 4 Dead knows if you look at her, she attacks you. It's just that simple. Never upset her. Uh, all of this is just. Before I go over this, go ahead and read if you want. Before I go over this, there is one fundamental thing as to why she can't be a killer in Dead by Daylight. She only gets upset if you disturb her. So she would literally just be sitting in one spot on the map, and as long as a survivor didn't do anything to disturb her, then she'd be absolutely positively fine. She would never move, she would never do anything. So there's a fundamental mistake there. Leave me alone. When blinded, the person that blinded you gets exposed for 10 seconds. that does nothing. I mean, I guess it will do something, but it's also like it's not gonna really do much. If I pallet stun you, I guess it punishes people for blinding you poorly. But if I pallet stun you and then double blind you, like I'm supposed to, you're probably not gonna find me, catch up to me, and hit me within that 10 seconds. But if I don't double blind you, then I mean this would be a decent perk, because it could replace essentially Lightborn, to where you kinda don't mind getting blinded, but I mean Starstruck replaces both of them, to where if somebody wants to go for a flashlight blind, they become exposed anyway. You know what I'm saying? Starstruck you have to be picking up though on that blind, while this allows you to, whenever you're blind at any point, I would definitely increase the speed that your killer moves, because she's all about rage, becoming enraged, and then doing something. So her perk should increase her speed. And the exposed status effect, you really don't need 10 seconds of exposure. Run Lightborn if you're that worried about getting blinded. You need a lower limit. So I would definitely scale up speed and keep the exposed to a standard number. And do things like that. You don't want it to be strong enough to where you can break a pallet, catch up to a survivor, and then down the survivor. You want to make it just enough to where if you get blinded after being pallet stunned, you can just say, fuck breaking the pallet, and you can walk around and get to that survivor that's running to you and get a hit there. But you shouldn't be able to break the pallet, so you should either add in the clause that this perk gets deactivated if you break the pallet, because I mean, if the survivor's getting exposed for doing something, positive that they get points for, the killer shouldn't be able to do anything, like decisive strike, for example. Decisive only works if you're getting tunneled and not able to do anything. If you try and heal, work on a generator, or do any other excess actions, you lose your decisive. So if the killer breaks a pallet or does any, excess actions, they should lose that exposed status effect. It's only fair and it's only balanced. So I mean, you can keep it at 10 seconds, but add in a cooldown for one, so they don't just back to back keep blinding you and back to back keep getting exposed. There needs to be a cooldown in between activations added there. And then there needs to be a clause to where if you do break the pallet or break a breakable wall or something like that, it goes away. So it still takes skill to get that down, and it's not a, oh, you blinded me, I'm gonna kick this pallet now and I'm gonna go about my day. Now, to bring it back, if you're just appalled about this, you can also increase the breaking speed of everything by like 5-10%. So if you decide not to use the exposed status effect, you have faster breaking speed. Keep it low, because there's already perks that allow you to break pallets faster. There's a perk made for that, pallets and breakable walls. It's like 25%. So I mean, run that perk if you want to do things that way. Now keep in mind, most cases this is useless. However, during lobby, you can actually see if survivors are going to be running flashlights or not. If you got a lot of flashlights, you'll swap this perk out. If there's not a lot of flashlights, you'll deactivate this perk. So most cases, you're not going to really have a strong amount of flashlight users, and this perk's going to be dead in the water for you. So it's not very useful how it sits. Even looking at how it is, you're not going to get very many activations and be able to capitalize. X special day. You become obsessed with one survivor. When they perform an altruistic action, their aura will be revealed to you. After they have finished their action, continue to see their aura for 6 additional seconds. Any who cleanse this become the obsession. Terrible. Any altruistic action, any that's unhooking, that's healing of any sort, basically assisting other survivors. Anything they do that assist another survivor. You're going to be able to see their aura the entire time they're doing that. And then after they finish the action, an additional 6 seconds. No. One, why make it hooked to a hex and not make it something that's hooked to a scourge hook and then put a time limit on it and make it available to all survivors that are hooked? Or all survivors in general. Why keep it an obsession perk? 2, if you're going to make it an obsession perk that you're wanting to scale time per something, why not make it to where you have to get tokens and then the tokens get used as that person uses altruistic actions, giving it a finite time limit on this particular ore reading? Because I mean, the obsession, once they get damaged, they will never be able to heal unless they have just a godly heal build and a godly heal build team to go along with that. It is any altruistic action. So anytime they heal, you're going to see them. If they unhook somebody, you're going to see them. If they heal anybody, you're going to see them. If they assist anybody in any way, getting out of a bear trap as a trapper, for example, you're going to see them. And then 6 additional seconds after that. That's insane. Absolutely, positively insane. Grave mistake. For every stun effect you suffer, gain a token. Each token gains haste by 1.5% per token up to a max of 3 tokens. Lose all tokens when a survivor is down. Or, well, I mean, there's actually a lot of perks you can run now that I think about it. First being the spirits perk. When you get pallet stunned, I think it's the third one, the pallet automatically breaks on you, which saves you time. Haste wise, you have saved the best for last, where as long as you chase the obsession and then lose chase, you get these stackable tokens. And as long as you don't hit the obsession, you don't lose tokens. If you hit the obsession, you lose like 2 tokens. I think you can have like a max of 5 tokens like that. And there's a whole bunch of other speed tokens or speed perks out there that is better. And then to lose all of these tokens when a survivor's downed ain't very good. Because even at 5%, which this perk can't even do, but even at 5% additional speed of a 4.6 killer, you ended up at 4.69. Wait, yeah, 4.6, 4 point, no, it's not 4.6. Well, yeah, it's 4.6 plus 2 plus 2, or plus 0.23. That would be 8, just 2, and then 3. So 4.86. What the fuck am I talking about? I've lost my train of thought. 4.6 plus 2.3. Yeah, 6.9. So I was right. 6.9. That's 50%. We're doing 10%. That's why I got confused at. It would be 3 added onto that. That's why. No. Where is my brain just gone? I forgot what the fuck I was doing. 5%. 10% of 4.6 is 0.46. Half of that is 0.23. 4.6 plus 2 or 0.23 is 8.3. So 4.83. So you would be moving at 4.83 meters per second at 5%. I did 5% because it's easier to do or to run it. And you would have been suffered stuns for 3 times, which is 10 seconds essentially. Well, it's 9 seconds of lost speed and time. And you can no longer gain Bloodlust status effect when chasing a survivor when this perk is selected. I'm pretty sure Bloodlust is faster than what this perk gives you. Yeah, it don't make sense. You can get Bloodlust just as fast as you get this perk, and Bloodlust is a lot faster. So no. No. The power is Viral Sorrow. Hold the power button, the bride will break from her insanity and begin to sob into her hands, reducing her movement speed to 4 meters per second. The bride does not move until disturbed and left for dead, but I guess this makes it somewhat decent. So her movement speed is reduced exactly to Survivor's movement speed, which is bad. If you're going to decrease her speed, make her speed, like 3.8 or something. Make it the way the survivors are faster. And you can't just walk around in this particular broken state, forcing things. Unless you're a good looper and you learn how to use objects to your advantage, which most survivors don't, this killer's going to be high or heavily on your heels when it comes to shit like that. When this happens, all survivors will hear sobbing and become oblivious. Maintaining viral sorrow charges the power gauge for the secondary power frenzy by 8% per second, plus an additional 2% per survivor within your terror radius. So it charges regardless. Also, actually, never mind. You'll figure it out. I shouldn't have to say this. You'll figure it out. Oblivious survivors remain oblivious an additional 3 seconds after ending viral sorrow. Any survivors who stare at the bride while she is sobbing for an accumulative 8 seconds will be granted the exposed status effect for 10 seconds and will be highlighted by Killer Instinct. So it's essentially Ghostface, but double the time. But you expose people instead of just getting the Killer Instinct. Yeah, it takes like what, 3.54 seconds to expose Ghostface? It's like, boom. So you're just it's Ghostface. It really is just Ghostface. And then Speed Power Frenzy gains 150% movement speed, which I just did, 6.9 meters per second, for 8 seconds or until a survivor is down. Suffer a 3-second fatigue state once the duration ends. I would rather have a Legion system. 8 seconds is not very good, especially when 3 seconds after that 8 seconds, you're going to be in fatigue. So if you take out the 3 seconds, you get from that 8 seconds afterwards, you're only getting about 5 seconds of 6.9 meters per second movement speed. Not very good. Not very good at all. You could have done this a lot better, but it's going to be difficult because you're trying to take something that's not compatible with Dead by Daylight and make it compatible. So you're going to have a hell of a time trying to actually push out a good concept there. Again, you'd have been better off using the SCP that covers his face and all of that, and if you look at him, you're just dead. Then the witch. However, the witch could still be implemented correctly through Dead by Daylight system. It would just take a lot of additional thought. I already looked at this. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, January of 2021. Yeah, I've already seen that. And we are at the end. It's right about an hour, which is kind of what I was trying to get out of the Dead by Daylight reviews. Because I kind of want the rest of the day to just get on and have fun playing and not have to stream everything for once. So I'm going to go watch some YouTube videos, have fun for a little bit, probably jump on random ass games I ain't played in a while, and enjoy the rest of my day off stream. Because I get way more content off stream than I wish I was streaming when I'm not streaming. As well, I'm not trying to talk about what's going on and how shitty my fucking teammates are. Generally, I'm just full battle rattle when I'm by myself, and I ain't gotta worry about thinking about shit and trying to say the things I'm talking about. So I get that, 20% loss back to me. I might show you some replays, like Rocket League or something like that when I'm not streaming, because most of my replays come from strictly not streaming. Anybody that was looking forward to the part 2 of that match that I was going to go over, I decided to cancel that series. I mean, part 1 covers the basics of kickoffs, so I mean, if you have weak kickoffs, or well, I should say what to do after the kickoff. So if you're weak on that, it has that information there. Every stream that I do, basically Rocket League wise, I go over the mistakes me and my teammates make, etc., of that particular division. So that's also there as well. You can go to any Rocket League stream and get that content. Except for one, which I purposely played like they did, just to show you how bad it is. How I could get 600 points a game. My teammates have nothing. And a Season 5 GC have under 100 points because I'm ball chasing and not giving him a chance to play. So, besides that one, you can go to any other one. As always, a supplement your lifestyle, and I will see you next time. Day off sounds real good. I might not be here tomorrow. Tell you, mess around and get comfortable. Might not stream tomorrow either. Who knows? Peace.